The Williams and Partners law firm occupied the top 3 floors of the prestigious Blackwood Tower in downtown Manhattan. It was where my father, the great Richard Williams, had built his legal empire over 30 years. The same empire that had no place for his underachieving daughter. I straightened my designer pantsuit, Chanel, though they'd assume it was a knockoff as I walked through the marble lobby of my building. Yes, my building, though they didn't know that yet. Miss Alexandra. The security guard nodded respectfully, knowing exactly who owned the tower but keeping our carefully maintained secret. Good morning, John. Are they all here? Yes, ma'am. Your father's entire partnership team arrived for the lease renewal meeting. They're in the main conference room on the 50th floor. I smiled, thinking about the surprise waiting for them. For 3 years, they'd assumed I was barely making ends meet with my small real estate business. They had no idea that while they were mocking my career choices, I'd been systematically buying prime Manhattan properties through my holding company, Blackrock Properties, including their beloved Blackwood Tower. Still trying to find your way, Alexandra? My mother's voice carried across the lobby as she emerged from the elevator. Perfect timing. I heard you were meeting with some real estate agent today. Finally ready to admit you need help. If she only knew I owned the building she was standing in, along with half the commercial properties in this district. Something like that, Mom, I replied, checking my watch. 9:45 a.m. In exactly 15 minutes, their lease renewal meeting would begin. With me. Well, your father's very busy today, she continued, adjusting her Hermes scarf. Important lease renewal meeting. The kind of legal work you could have been doing if you'd stayed with the firm. Ah yes, my brief stint at Williams and Partners. 6 months of being relegated to paperwork while watching less qualified male associates get promoted ahead of me. 6 months of hearing, but she's Richard's daughter, whispered behind my back. My phone buzzed, a message from my chief counsel. All paperwork ready. Current market rate calculations complete. Proposed increase. 40% above their current rate. I should head up, my mother said, pressing the elevator button. Your father needs these contracts reviewed before meeting the building owner. The owner's representative, I corrected quietly. What? Nothing. I think I'll join you. I have some business on the 50th floor myself. She looked at me with that particular mix of pity and disappointment she'd perfected since I left the firm. Alexandra, please don't tell me you're trying to pitch some small-time real estate deal to your father's partners. The elevator rode up in silence, my mother pointedly checking her emails while I reviewed the lease documents on my phone. 3 years of watching them underestimate me had taught me patience. The conference room doors were open, partners filling the space with expensive suits and inflated egos. My father stood at the head of the table, commanding attention as always. Gentlemen, he was saying, this lease renewal is crucial. Williams and Partners has occupied the top floors of Blackwood Tower since its construction. Our presence here speaks to our firm's prestige. And your presence here speaks to your inability to read market trends, I said, walking into the room. The conversation stopped. 20 heads turned toward me, expressions ranging from confusion to dismissal. Alexandra, my father's voice carried that special tone of disappointment he reserved for me. We're in the middle of an important meeting. Whatever real estate listings you're trying to sell can wait. I placed my briefcase on the table, enjoying the moment. Actually, Dad, I'm right on time. Shall we discuss your lease renewal? Alexandra, my father sighed, this is a meeting with the building owner's representative. We don't have time for the building owner, I corrected, pulling out a stack of documents. Not the representative. And yes, you do have time, considering I'm the one who called this meeting. The room fell silent. Partner James Mitchell, who'd rejected my application for the senior associate position 3 years ago, laughed nervously. Richard, what's your daughter talking about? My father's face darkened. Alexandra, enough. If this is some attempt to prove yourself. Blackrock Properties, I interrupted, projecting documents onto the conference room screen. Owner of Blackwood Tower and 15 other premium commercial properties in Manhattan. Current market value, $4.2 billion. I paused, letting that sink in. CEO and sole owner, Alexandra Williams. The silence turned heavy. My mother, who had been standing by the door, dropped her designer purse. That's impossible, my father whispered. Blackrock Properties is owned by A.R. Williams, We've been trying to meet with them for months. Air Williams, I smiled. Alexandra Rose Williams. Amazing how adding those initials suddenly made my business proposals worth reading. Partner Mitchell's face had gone pale. The same A.R. Williams who bought the Madison Avenue complex last month? And the Greenwich Plaza the month before that, I confirmed. Though you'd know that if any of you had bothered to actually read the real estate news instead of assuming I was playing at business. My phone buzzed. Another message from my chief counsel. New market analysis complete. Comparable properties in the area increased rates by 45% this quarter. Now, I continued, taking the seat at the head of the table, my father's usual spot. Shall we discuss your lease renewal? I believe you'll find the terms have changed significantly. Changed. Partner Mitchell sputtered. We have a long-standing relationship with this building. I corrected. You had a relationship with the previous owner. I've reviewed your tenancy and I find it problematic. Problematic. My father's voice rose. We're the most prestigious law firm in Manhattan. I said calmly, pulling up more documents. Your revenue has dropped 15% in the last 2 years. 3 major clients have left in the past 6 months. And your utilization of premium space is. I paused, looking around the overly luxurious conference room, inefficient. My mother found her voice. Alexandra, if this is about us pushing you to stay in law. This is about business, I cut her off. Just like it was just business when Dad refused to promote qualified female associates. Like it was just business when partner Mitchell here said I needed more experience, then promoted a male associate with half my qualifications. The room grew uncomfortably quiet as I pulled up the new lease terms. Your current rate is 40% below market value. That changes today. Additionally, you're occupying 3 floors when your staffing numbers justify 2 at most. You can't do this, my father said, but his voice lacked its usual authority. We built our reputation in this building. And I built a real estate empire while you were all laughing at my small business, I replied. Funny how life works out, isn't it? Let's review your new lease terms, I said, distributing folders to each stunned partner. First, your rent will increase to current market value, a 45% adjustment. Second, you'll be consolidating to 2 floors instead of 3. The empty floor space has already received multiple inquiries from other law firms. Other law firms? My father's face reddened. You're inviting our competitors into our building? Pie building, I corrected. And yes, Morrison & Gray has expressed particular interest. I believe they've taken several of your major clients recently. Partner Mitchell flipped through the lease documents, his legal mind finally engaging. These terms are impossible. The upgrade requirements alone would bankrupt us. The requirements reflect current building standards, I explained. Standards your firm has ignored for years under the previous owners' lenient management. My phone buzzed with a message from my building manager. Morrison & Gray representatives are in the lobby for their scheduled tour of the 50th floor. Perfect timing, I smiled. Your potential new neighbors are here. Alexandra. My father's voice turned conciliatory, his negotiation voice that I'd heard countless times growing up. Surely we can discuss this reasonably. As family. As family. I laughed. Like how you reasonably discussed my future when I wanted to start my own business. Or how you reasonably suggested I work in the mail room to learn the business from the ground up, while male lawyers fresh out of school got corner offices. My mother stepped forward. Darling, we only wanted what was best for you. No, I corrected her. You wanted what was best for the family name. The same name I used to build my company while you were all too busy mocking my choices to notice. I projected more documents onto the screen. Photographs of my other properties, statistics showing their performance, headlines about BlackRock Properties' meteoric rise in the real estate world. You know what's ironic? I continued. While you were all dismissing my little real estate business, I was featured in Forbes. The rising queen of Manhattan real estate. Dad, wasn't that magazine sitting on your desk last month? The one you said you were too busy to read. The partners whispered among themselves, probably calculating how this would affect their personal bottom lines. My father stared at the lease terms, his legal mind finally processing the reality of his situation. The building improvements must be completed within 6 months, I pointed out. Including the new energy-efficient systems that you've been postponing for years. Oh, and the wellness center you promised your associates? The one that never materialized. That becomes mandatory under the new lease. 6 months. Partner Mitchell exploded. That's impossible. Interesting choice of words, I replied. Wasn't that what you said when I presented my business plan 3 years ago? It's impossible for someone like you to succeed in real estate? Just then the conference room doors opened. 2 representatives from Morrison & Gray walked in, followed by my property manager. Ms. Williams, my manager nodded respectfully. Morrison & Gray is here for their scheduled tour of the 50th floor. The color drained from my father's face as he recognized Robert Morrison, his former protege who'd left to start his own firm, taking several major clients with him. Robert, my father stammered. What are you doing here? Meeting with my new landlord, Robert smiled, nodding in my direction. Alexandra and I have been discussing some exciting possibilities for expanding our firm's presence in Blackwood Tower. You knew. My father turned to me. You've been negotiating with our competitors behind our backs? Behind your backs? I raised an eyebrow. Like how you secretly advised clients to leave my real estate firm because you thought I couldn't handle big accounts? My phone buzzed again, more messages flooding in. Legal Times. Request for comment on Williams & Partners' potential downsizing? Commercial Real Estate Weekly. Interview about BlackRock's latest acquisition? Wall Street Journal. Story on Manhattan's youngest real estate mogul? Now, I continued, let's discuss your options. Option 1. Accept the new terms including the 45% rate increase and floor reduction. Option 2. Relocate within 60 days as per the lease termination clause. 60 days. Partner Mitchell sputtered. We can't possibly move a firm this size in 60 days. Really? Because I built $1 billion real estate empire in 3 years while you were all telling me I couldn't handle simple property management. My mother, ever the diplomat, tried one last time. Alexandra, darling, think about what this will do to the family name. The family name? I projected one final document onto the screen, tomorrow's press release. You mean the family name that's about to be associated with Manhattan's most successful young real estate developer? The one Forbes is calling the new queen of New York real estate? The room fell silent as they read the headline. BlackRock Properties reveals CEO identity. Alexandra Williams steps into spotlight as Manhattan's youngest real estate mogul. Your corner office has a nice view, Dad, I said, standing up. I particularly like the sunset from up there. Morrison & Gray mentioned they'd love that space for their managing partner. You wouldn't dare, he whispered. Like you dared to tell the Hendersons not to lease from my company because little Alexandra doesn't understand big business? Those same Hendersons who just signed a 20-year lease for my new development on Fifth Avenue. Robert Morrison cleared his throat. Actually, Richard, we're prepared to lease all 3 floors if Williams & Partners decides to explore other options. My father collapsed into his chair, 30 years of power dynamics shifting in 30 minutes. The lease documents need to be signed by 5 p.m. today, I announced, gathering my things. After that, the rates increase another 10%. When, Dad? That expensive Italian marble you installed in your private bathroom without building approval? That needs to be removed. It's not up to code. You can't just walk away, my father called out as I reached the door. I turned back one last time. Actually, I can. I own the building. But don't worry. I hear there's some affordable office space available in New Jersey. Perfect for a firm that's scaling down. As I walked out, I heard Robert Morrison say, "So, about that corner office." My phone rang, the Forbes reporter I'd been working with. "Ready for your cover shoot?" she asked. "We're thinking of calling it, The Building Empire Strikes Back. How Alexandra Williams Became Her Father's Landlord." I looked around the lobby of my building, my first major acquisition, bought right under my family's nose while they were busy doubting me. "Perfect," I replied. "But let's do the shoot in the mailroom. You know, where Dad said I should start my career." Later that evening, as I sat in my penthouse office overlooking the city, my assistant brought in the signed lease documents. Williams & Partners had accepted the terms, all of them. "Your father left this," she said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a copy of my first business plan, the one he'd dismissed 3 years ago. Across it, in his distinctive handwriting, I was wrong. I pinned it to my wall, right next to the building's deed and my Forbes cover. The perfect reminder that success is the best revenge, especially when served in a building you own. One more thing, I told my assistant. Send a memo to all tenants. Building management is hosting a reception next week. The owner would like to formally introduce herself. After all, if you're going to own the building, you might as well own the moment. The next morning, I arrived early to find the lobby buzzing with activity. News of yesterday's revelation had spread fast, and reporters were camped outside. Through the glass doors, I could see my father's Bentley pull up. "Ms. Williams," John the security guard called out. "Your father's requesting access to the executive parking garage." "Standard visitor parking only," I replied. Executive access was part of the old lease. I watched as my father, for the first time in 30 years, had to park in the public lot across the street. Small victories. My phone buzzed with a message from Robert Morrison. "Corner office renovations starting next week. Previous occupant left some interesting files behind. Have them delivered to my office," I replied. I'm sure Dad wouldn't mind me reviewing his old case files. After all, he always said I needed to learn more about real law. The morning news played on the lobby screens. Manhattan real estate shakeup. Alexandra Williams reveals identity as BlackRock Properties CEO. Williams and Partners law firm faces major downsizing. My assistant appeared with my schedule. The Building Owners and Managers Association wants you to keynote their annual conference. Topic: breaking glass ceilings from the penthouse down. I smiled, watching my father make the long walk from the public parking lot, his Italian leather shoes unsuited for the morning rain. Sometimes success isn't just about proving them wrong. It's about owning the building where they have to admit it.